Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to our monthly ASM show. Let's introduce who we have on the panel. We have the man, the myth, the legend. We have JR. What's going on, JR?
Well, I just got done mowing the yard, so I am
Oh, my
fresh. I am smelling like nature right now.
God. No Irish Spring.
Nope, not
You,
yet.
you don't have any. You don't have any young kids you can pay to do that, old man. You can't hire a company. You can't get some kids out,
Yep.
neighborhood kids looking for $1.
No, our neighborhood kids all grew up. It's just us old people now. So
Oh man. Hey, tilt your camera down just a little bit. I want to see more of the man, the myth. There you go. And the sweat stains, evidently.
more than a few.
There you go. All right. I love the goblin over your shoulder. If that's the devil on your shoulder, where's the angel?
Actually, this is the angel on my shoulder. This is the better half.
Okay. All right then. All right. Somebody else is an angel. How's that intro, Christina? There you go, Christina. We have Christina.
There we
in the
go.
house.
Yep.
You're in my Fantastic Four era.
I
You're looking forward to that
am.
movie, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. More than Superman, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go see Final Destination tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Are you guys familiar with that movie?
I am. I just haven't seen the films. They've been on AMC and stuff, but I've been lazy and haven't watched them or anything. So
Yeah, I like them. All right. And we have an ASM reviewer on the front page joining us and an old friend. We have Ryan. What's going on, Ryan, who does his own stunts?
Not too much. I'm kind of on the opposite side of JR. JR was out doing all the mowing. I was inside scrubbing the floors, vacuuming, cleaning out the toilets, and wiping down the mirrors. So I was on the other
Well,
end.
we're living this married life, aren't we, fellas? I mean,
Yeah.
the kids at home, if you're single, you're wondering, this is what it's like, you know?
That's why I'm wearing my nickel and dime shirt today.
Nickel and dime. You take tips, evidently. Yeah.
Exactly, I do.
Also, we have Mike. Mike is going to join us, but he said he's going to be late, he was our lead reviewer. So Ryan stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, making sure I
And
have
said-
a copy over on the side. So making
Yep.
sure we have anything. I've turned off my other devices so that way we have hopefully have a good signal here, no problem. And then
You
might have
sound
the
good.
occasional dog in the back. So yeah.
There you go. We also have, let's check out chat, who's watching us today. We have Hosa Taco. There you go. Mr. Comics in the house. Hey, webheads, what's Chi-Town's letter record? I think I've either tied it or broken it now. I think the one to look out for is Bruce. Bruce is really after it. I'm not even sure Chi-Town's reading the newest volume. I could be wrong, but yeah. But anyway, Mr. Comics, are you in this issue? I forgot to look at the letters pages to see if I recognized anybody familiar in there. But anyway, if you are, congrats, sir. Let's see. We've got Adam saying hi, everybody. We got Trayvon saying good to see everybody. We got Jeff in the house. We have Vinkman. What's going on? Javi is getting a lot of letters published. Our Javi, who used to review on our site. Well, we're going to have to look at that. We will look at the letters pages, Ryan, when you get to it. So let me pull this up. What's the legacy on this one? 967, I think.
Yes, it is
Or
967.
issue 3. Again. How many issue 3s have we bought of Amazing Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh, that's a good question.
A lot.
Funny thing is, I actually had issue 3 once upon a time, many years ago too. So
issue 3. I do have issue 3 with the first appearance of Doc Ock. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very true. I have that
Dr.
one.
Octopus there.
All right, Ryan, take me through this one.
All right. So, of course, here we are. Amazing Spider-Man number 3 for, I think, the 7th time. Legacy number 967 by Joe Kelly and our buddy Pepe Larraz and everything. Well, we kick off this issue actually with a flashback. We go back to those turbulent middle school years we never knew about with Peter Parker, as apparently he walked into his Uncle Ben's closet, took his old military jacket and said, hey, you know what? I can, do a lot of good sewing here, so I'm going to go ahead and put all these different little patches on. I have 1984 up there for some reason. I got, the Biohazard, Nuclear, the Avengers logo, the checkered flag, and X-Files I want to learn instead of I want to believe on him. And Aunt May is just throwing a fit. She cannot believe he grabbed this jacket, put everything on it, put Parker on it, put a little skull on it, and the fact that it was his uncle's army jacket he loved, he used it and everything, and basically says, hey, it was just sitting there gathering dust, and Aunt May is not going to have this, and actually just grabs him by the neck and says, I'm going to teach you, you young whippersnapper, what is really going on, because I will
Pulls
kill
a
you.
Homer Simpson. Why, you little...
Pretty much. Of course, as we find out, actually, Aunt May probably didn't do that because actually we're back in our buddy and old Ravencroft here, where Itsy Bitsy, not seen since Spider-Man Deadpool 25, is actually there, and they are in a little no-holds bar where our new hero nurse Shay is trying to protect our buddy Alcatraz, the Rhino, who is, of course, still recovering from his heart attack trip and everything else, too. So they pretty much get a good throwdown here. I mean, Itsy really shows, why she is the girl boss, as she tells Spider-Man
Real
here.
quick, Ryan, we can't forget the recap page with this
the
odd-looking
recap
Vulcan.
page.
With this odd-looking Vulcan on it. Why
How could
they
I,
kept
with
that
our, with
image?
our Vulcan ready to go? I mean, JR knows what I'm
I know.
talking about right here with Vulcan Peter Parker. And of
The
course,
needs of the
the
many.
actual names of too, because we get Brian's, our buddy, new superhero Brian Nevering, Peter's lost buddy from his middle school days as well here, and of course Norman Osborn, aka Alfred Pennyworth. So we are really got our little hearts going here with that recap page. Anything. So anyhow, back to. In the now, we have, of course, Itsy basically being a girl boss, kicking Spider-Man all over, Ravencroft while he's kind of still tripping and drugging, while meanwhile Shay is, of course, protecting the Rhino, like, please don't hurt my Alec, please don't. He has so much to live for. I just can't have him down. Just no, don't have me, because somehow her spider webs have turned into the dark shadow swarms attacking her all of a sudden out of the Hellfire Gala. And of course, Peter has no problem. He rushes to her rescue, saves her, even though she kind of hits her head and everything. He says, is he okay, the Rhino? Oh yeah, because he has impervious skin, even though he's not wearing his suit right now. But all of a sudden, Shay turns to Uncle Ben saying, oh, I'm so disappointed in you, Peter. Do you feel like wearing my jacket makes you feel more like a man? I mean, if you really want to feel a man, you need to go clean the toilets right now, which you're doing next issue.
Mow the yard. Come on, be a man.
So anyhow, Peter's still getting kind of dang it. Of course, picks up with one of her 6 webs and actually throws him through the glass into, of course, a couple of other Ravencroft men who apparently were killed by Itsy somewhere, apparently in between all the things that were happening to. And he's continuing to have flashbacks where he's with the Freakish Four. Christina, you gotta get your Freakish Four out here next, because we have the Fantastic Four, we have the Freakish
Four no more, yeah.
4 more, including our buddy Brian there. He's got a buddy, hey Peter, those people suck, don't worry, we're all good, and that's all set. And then of course what ends up happening is, of course, Peter wakes up again in the thing, and Itzy's got her little spider swords ready to take out the Rhino there. He's got it towards his head because she realizes, hey, he doesn't have impregnable skin, he's not wearing a suit. So Peter, of course, jumps to the rescue, but it's not Peter at all. It's SEAL Team 6 Ravencroft edition with their ring lasers that go and attack him. And Itsy says, you know what? I need to get out of here, but I'm going to take Spider-Man with me because technically he's my dad. I'm somewhat attracted to him, but yet I want to kill him really bad, but I got to save him.
Gross.
I mean, really. I mean, that's basically it. And they get into a fight. She knocks him out, and they end up on the Brooklyn Bridge at some point in time. We don't.
And they want to. She wants to start making out.
And she, of course, takes off her mask, showing her, her mutated face, because, she has the DNA of not only Spider-Man in her, but also Deadpool. So she's got to have that Vulcan ears back there, too, since Peter lost them. So they went to her. Basically, she says to him, I could have let you go, but I really want to kill you. But I couldn't kill you. I had to save you from, SEAL Team 6 attacking us. So, you know what? I kind of have this really thing here. I kind of want to slice your neck, but yet kiss you. So, but, with all these weird feelings I'm having, I'm just going to throw you off the bridge like Gwen Stacy and just basically tosses them into the drink because she says how screwed up she is, which she really is.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Joe Kelly using his girl boss, 2025 slang there, because he's got the Riz. So he's going to make sure that all works out very well, too.
He fell on his Giat, yeah.
Exactly. And meanwhile, somehow we flash forward a couple of hours or minutes later to Aunt May's apartment, where she's having all these wonderful volunteers just dropping stuff off. And who comes through the next day? Why, Peter. And he has no shoes on. He's soaking wet. He's still kind of tripping. He says, hey, Aunt May, can I just crash for the night, just like in the old days here when I just came walking through after being beat up by Dr. Octopus or Mysterio? And she said, sure, go to my back guest room, and just doesn't ask questions, let Peter just pass out unconscious back there. Anyhow, we get some more flashbacks as Peter's asleep. So we go back to middle school where we actually see what really, really happened with Peter actually talking with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who look a little bit like they fell out of the Ultimate Spider-Man comic years there. And of course, basically him talking about how, I was very disappointed. You took my jacket, you messed around. But he says, hey, it was in the closet. He said, hey, that was my closet, kid. He was like, well, yeah, but you said everything's yours, but it wasn't. And basically, they're like, why are you being so disrespectful, you 13-year-old brat? And basically says, I don't like you. You're not my mother. And I'm going to run out here and go be with my real friends. And he walks out and everything else, too, and storms out. And, of course, Aunt May, of course, says, oh, you know what? That reminds me of those days when he ran out crying and unconscious. I need to go talk with Peter. And she gets over there, and just like back when he was a teenager, somehow he has magically walked out the door and escaped her apartment without him ever noticing her. He just says, wait, Peter, where'd you go? I don't get it. Well, don't worry, folks, because Peter's gone to his next BFF, his new butler. I mean, the former Green Goblin, that's right, Norman Osborn, who's doing like Alfred Pennyworth, removing claws and bullet wounds from his back and actually talking about it. And Norman says, so you got attacked by a mutated druggie from a guy who made a deal with the devil, who has your DNA and Deadpool's and hates you and yet loves you. Boy, when I say that out loud, it sounds really screwed up. And Peter says, yeah, it really does. So thank you for telling that to the audience, Norman, how really of a screwed up origin story she has. But anyhow, enough of that. We got to talk about actually what happened to you. And we find out, Peter, you've been drugged. There is a strange little drug what's in that Queen Cola. And somehow you drank it. And Peter puts it together like, Queen Cola? Wait, there was tons of cans in the Rhino's apartment. That's how you drug a rhino. Holy cow. I've got to take this mystery with me and go trace it back to the source like Batman. Thanks, Alfred. I'm going to now go all the way back to my old BFF, Brian Corrigan, and say, hey, Brian, would you whiff this set of mushrooms while you're eating your own mushrooms in your lab? This is very interesting, Peter. You're right. There is something kind of strange on here. And you tell me you and your girlfriend drank this cola and were tripping? That's right, Brian. We sure were tripping. What do you think about this? Well, Peter, I'm not quite sure, but it comes from this company. And why this is going on, Peter says, okay, I'm going to go check out this company lab and figure out what's going on. So Peter swings across and he's narrating. He says, Norman found out that the sole producer of the bottle of Queen's Cola is practically in my backyard. It isn't a bottle, it's a drug lab. And I bet my webs, excuse me, that the discount Walter White isn't adding something to his mix. So it must be soda with energy drink. So what's the plan here? What's the thirsty? And all of a sudden a voice talks to him, that's not a very effective plan. I mean, why not just drug the water supply like the government does with fluoride? And Peter says, you know what? That's a good point. And they wait a second. Who said that? He's like, just so you know, Spider-Man, side effects may include using your outside narration for your inner monologues that we can hear you saying. And he goes, oh, crap. And all of a sudden, JR's second favorite angel shows up, and it's the Hobgoblin wearing the Phil Urich costume with the flaming sword, because here's the one thing. We all love the flaming sword. And not only did Hobgoblin show up, he's got his own Seal Tick 6 over there behind him, ready to take out Spider-Man. To be continued, folks.
All right. Before we get to the grades, we've got, let's look at the letter page real quick. Do we have anybody that we recognize? No, I don't think we do in this one. But all right.
We have Sheila from Chicago, though.
What's up, Sheila from Chicago? If you're in chat, sound off, Sheila. All right, Ryan, what is your grade, sir?
I gave this one actually a C+. I would have given it a little higher after reading issue 4, but I actually gave it a C+, and I'll talk about that in the pros and cons.
Okay. Chat, let's sound off on your grades, too. JR, what's your grade?
I gave it a C.
Okay. Christina?
I went a smidge higher than Ryan. I gave it a B-. So.
I give it a solid B. No minus out of me. I liked it a lot. Ryan, let me hear your pros.
First of all, pros. I thought Pepe did a fantastic job on the artwork.
Oh yeah,
he's rocking the fight scenes. He's got a really nice darkness to it, and it moves very well to the panels. Like, it really does have a very animation cartoon to it, and also like the dread. I mean, that final panel before the Hobgoblin shows up, when all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, you're right. What?" And all like Jack Tripper out of Three's Company, and the pumpkin bomb comes flying out, and Roderick's like, "Let's play a little Dungeons and Dragons there for George's sake, Peter." And I really do kind of like some of the dialogue between Norman and Peter actually was actually kind of interesting. I really kind of liked this. I mean, one thing about they really kind of were worrying about the sins of Norman Osborn, but I like that Kelly's kind of taken Norman and kind of done a little bit with the kind of redeemed Norman Osborn. It's kind of an interesting factor to it. And I really kind of like how the relationship was working, especially how they were working together with Brian to kind of figure out what the drugs were and everything. And I love the fight with him and Itsy Bitsy. I thought it was a really cool fight.
JR, what do you think of Ryan calling Norman Alfred? do you think it lines up? Is that what he's doing?
That's pretty, yeah. I mean, what he's doing is not particularly original. It's been done by Alfred for years, but it's the way it is.
Do you like Norman in this role?
I think they could do something
different,
with it, but I think they could do something with it. But I wouldn't want to see it permanent. I do like. I was about to say, well, I'm going to give away my big pro. I'll wait till pros and cons.
Oh, we are on pros. Go ahead.
We are on pros and cons.
Yeah, we're on pros.
We're on pros.
Let's hear it.
I like the fact that when Norman said, it sounds absolutely idiotic when I say it, just the kind of, I just kind of like the snarky, just because there is a certain absurdity to Peter's adventures and his heroism. And, now that Norman's head is clear, I like him pointing out the absurdity of it, because Norman is kind of an arrogant ass, really. I mean, I hope
Absolutely.
they don't change that. And I think he kind of still has looks down a little bit on Peter's escapades. So I did like that. So
I like this panel of Norman. You're doing a good job being one of the good guys. Imagine that. I like that. I think, look at that little smile. Like, if you only knew the Goblin's in there, he's just waiting to come out on issue 1000.
Yeah, exactly.
No teleplane with that. No.
Do you think we're waiting that long before Norman becomes the real Goblin? We wait until, isn't it summer of next year?
Yeah, it's not very far away, really.
No,
it's
not
really coming up.
It's not far away. Any other pros, JR?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I don't, I don't dislike the art like I did, last month or when we talked, because it doesn't seem like it seems like we don't have, Impossible Man Peter anymore. So plus I do like, well, of course we'll get to next issue, but I did like some of the art in the following issue. So now that's pretty well my pro. I mean, I'm not really a fan of this story, but again, that'll be for later.
Christina, what'd you like about it? What's your pros?
I definitely thought the art was an improvement compared to the last couple issues, because with like him with the Vulcan ears and stuff, it looked a lot better. I do agree on the fight sequences, though. That's a pro for next issue too. And then I do like the panel when the Hobgoblin comes in. And I've been reading the older ASM issues when he first came in, and so I'm not used to him seeing him with the wings, but that looks cool.
Mm-hmm. It's a departure from what he was in the 80s, what JR and Ryan and I grew up with. I don't mind it because it gives him something different, as opposed to Norman's glider. Let's go to the expert. JR, do you like the wings and the sword and he can fly a little bit more than a Goblin glider? Uh-oh.
No, I'm not a big fan of the wings, to be honest. But I do think your point to distinguish him from Osborn is well taken. It's a shame that, I mean, unfortunately, it just reminds me of Phil Urich's failed run as the Hobgoblin. Unfortunately, I don't know that Kingsley would co-opt, a weak imitator's. Well,
he's a thief. He stole Norman's stuff. You might as well steal Phil's.
That's true. That's right. He did just flat out steal Norman's stuff. So, but no, I think I don't care for the wings, but I do think your point is taken that he needs some things to distinguish himself from Osborn. So,
Ryan, what's your thoughts? Do you like
Well,
this
Well,
look?
here's the thing. I'm kind of with Jr. I don't like the wings. I do like the aspect of the rest of the costume, giving it more darker look. It kind of gives also a little bit of, if we want to go a little bit of the Demo Goblin kind of design to it, everything else too. But one thing, this is very interesting too, is, Roger Stern established this, and I think it was very brilliant, is Kingsley's actually a well-known fence champion. He was a fence champion. So him having this sword
Oh,
gives him a very
okay.
interesting edge, because that's something Norman never had. And that was
He's a
nothing the other
fencer. Okay.
goblins. And that was what was so interesting about when Phil Urich was that he even mentioned it when he thought he originally killed Roderick and it was his brother Daniel. But he said, oh, that's right. Kingsley was kind of a fencing champion back in his day, but I just did more D&D. And like I said, that's where I said with George there and him doing that was kind of sore. Meanwhile, and we'll see this a little bit more next issue, is Kingsley uses the sword very well in ways
Nice.
Phil never did. And like I said, that's a nice background. And I will give my hats off to Joe Kelly for bringing that thought process back into the
That's
character.
pretty
That's
good.
been
I like that.
forgotten.
That's really good. I like that. Let's go to chat and see what they're talking about. Let's see. JR is the best part of this show.
Woo, woo, woo.
Good Lord, the fan club meets again.
Making an old man
Norman,
blush.
Norman is the guy in the chair of this arc, says Adam. I like the lighting on JR. you get a better look at his goblin collectibles. Okay, there's the Thinker, or the Constipator, more like.
Now that is a
They're like, to be, or what do you think?
Putting on the
unfortunately,
Riz here.
That's an effect of old age, unfortunately, like so many other things.
Looks like Green Goblin may be coming back for the Bring on the Bad Guys event coming up. That's interesting. Yeah. We don't know what time frame that one shot is. I imagine there any new things with Norman is going to be included in the ASM. By the way, the Bring on the Goblins, Bring on the Bad Guys one shot is interesting because the writer of it used to do some front page articles on the front page reviews on the Crawlspace. So it has come full circle. A writer at Marvel was part of the Crawlspace, which I think is really funny. So congrats to him. Who's writing this crap, says Tevye. Tevye, you need a hug, brother. Every month. Come on. Tevye, we need somebody give him a virtual hug. My goodness. I guess Kingsley doesn't set off Peter's spider sense. Well, yeah, Adam, yeah. Well, he's drugged. There you go.
Yeah.
No prize for me. He's drugged. His spider sense is off, so we got a no prize. Looks like the Green Goblin may be coming back on the Bring. We already did that one. Let's see. We have. I just lost my place. Let's see here. All right, Adam gives it a C for this one. It's not terrible, but I hate the pacing and the flashbacks. We're going to go to cons in a little bit, Adam. I'm interested to see what the panel thinks about these flashbacks. They didn't say anything on them on the pros. Mr. Comics gives it a B, which is the same grade I gave it. Jeff gives it a C+. Adam says this art is freaking great. Could it be amazing? Really does the heavy lifting. I could agree with that, actually. Tevye gave it a D, mostly because it's just dumb and uninteresting. Also, I'm tired of Itsy Bitsy. Well, she hasn't been in here that much, Tevye. She's only had one appearance pre of this one. I want this character good artwork, though, but story is boring, G. All right. All right, G. I want to know, says Gary, what the panel thinks about Kingsley stealing Phil Urich's hobgoblin wings and sword. Like we talked about it, he's a thief. He stole Norman's stuff. Why would he not steal something Urich did? Panel, do we agree? I mean, we think we agree on that.
Well, and also back in the original Dan Slott storyline with the Phil Urich, those wings were actually early designs that Kingsley actually had done for Daniel too. So technically, he's the original patent holder.
Ah, boy, good memory there, Ryan. I don't remember that. That's crazy.
I
Let's
didn't
see.
either, but he's dead right. It was Yerk that stole this stuff originally.
Yeah, when he became the Goblin Knight later on too, he got rid of the wings and kept the sword.
Adam doesn't care. He thinks it's crap. Kingsley would never wear this junk. Morgan Freeman from The Dark Knight. I see more. Is Mary talking in? What is Mary talking about? I'm not quite sure what she was referencing.
I think probably way Norman is right now, kind of like how Morgan Freeman was in the first, Batman Begins movie.
Oh, where he made stuff. Yeah, I forget what that character in Batman's called. Let's see. Jeff says Pepe's art was fantastic. Still not a fan of Norman being an ally to Peter. I like him kind of winking at the camera just a little bit. Like it's showing that there's a little bit of evil left in Norman. They didn't get it all out. So I'm done with Norman being as a good guy. The story with him sucks. I'm tired of Peter and him being friends. Well, I bet you they're going to break up, Tevia. I'm just guessing. I don't think they're going to be friends by issue 1000. It's about time they reverted Norman to a bad guy full time. I'm going to defend Kelly on this. He's inching him a little closer than Zeb Wells did. That Gold Goblin miniseries, I thought would inch him a little closer, but that backup in the, what was the backup drawn by John Romita Jr. where the guy calls him Norm and he lunges at him and Norman just berates him. I think that was issue 1, wasn't it? Yeah, it was issue 1.
Yeah, with the cyborg and everything. Yeah, there's apparently more to that story too. Apparently,
I think the writer is inching him to become full-on Goblin. So yeah. Yes. First, upon the horizon, first Roderick ripped off Norman. Now he's ripping off failure. Kingsley is on brand. Agreed. I agree. It's well past time that Norman goes back to being a bad guy. Let's see. Mr. Comics, Green Goblin has the glider. The wings look cool on Goblin. They can be his. It does make sense after you think about it, where Roderick is known for stealing other villain stuff. I liked this Norman direction. I know they're going to revert him, so I'm just enjoying it while we still got it. It could have been way worse. I'll have to put up with it. At least Kelly is using Kingsley again. Agreed. Thank you, Adam, for my no prize explanation. We got a B out of upon the horizon. Norman should always be the bad guy. Yeah, I agree, but I this is something that he hasn't done in a while since the 60s, right, JR?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. He hasn't shown a good side because the death of Gwen was in 72 or 71 or something.
73, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
When you think about how good Norman goes all the way back to Spencer, that's a long time. Is it?
No.
Is it 6 years, 7 years, maybe? How long did Spencer last? 3, and then Zeb Wells 2?
4, actually, because if you think about 2020, 2021, a lot of the stories get messed up. Really, Norman's really kind of only been in the good guy, bad guy mid area for only 4 years about now.
4 or 5 years, yeah. Speaking of Hobgoblin, that reminds me, what happened to the whole Queen Goblin stuff? Did that stuff get retconned or ignored? Is he talking about the Red Goblin that's a girl?
Ashley Kafka clone.
Yeah. Ashley Kafka. She's still around. I think she was in something recently. Yeah. Anyway, all right, Ryan, you get first dibs of your cons. What are your cons for this one, my friend?
Well, we've all been kind of saying this too, but the flashbacks really did not work very well. I felt like the stories got out of this, and I know what Kelly and what Lareza were trying to do with what was Peter's things, and look at this, and I'll throw a little personal history, as you guys kind of know what happened to me the last couple weeks too. There were things I said to my own parents, both my mother and my father, that years later I do regret. And there were times I was 13-year-old, had a very strange little life too also, but I also remember many years ago, my own grandfather, who was a war vet himself, he didn't see service, and I saw his jacket in his closet, and I said, "Grandpa, what's?" And he's like, "Well, that's my old jacket. Here, let's try it on to you." But he said, remember, you have to respect that jacket. You have to respect what are other people's here too. And your uncle, which was his oldest child, took it out one day when he was a kid and started parading around. Look at me, I'm a flapping paratrooper, Dad, and blah blah blah. And he said, "Stop that! Let's take it off. You're going to damage it or leave it." And we're really trying to think. And Jr., you can hit me this too about how ever Steve Ditko and Stan Lee ever preferred who Peter was in his early years of high school before the spider belt. Do you really feel like this teenage Peter would have been this full, so upset about himself, he would have actually taken out his, uncle's jacket, sitting there and actually, as they say, it basically patched it up and put it on like, look at me, I'm a badass?
No, I'll get to that. So yeah, but no.
Yeah, that was a problem. I'm also going to kind of go in with SEAL Team 6 at Ravencroft when they come out blasting as Peter and Itsy Bitsy are fighting in there, and they got the ring blazers and everything else. But the fact is, we're kind of seeing like, if there was this big of an armed troop at Ravencroft, then how did Itsy Bitsy murder all these people and then walks out, takes Peter to the Brooklyn Bridge just to do it, and of course, a few other things. And same thing with Kingsley's his own version of the Rainbow Six team behind him when they go into the Queen's Cola drug operation. I'm just like, where are all these unarmed, henchmen, armed troops coming with, blazing weapons and everything else? It kind of feels like, whoa, what's going on? And we said, somebody put this in the comments, why is his spider sense not going off? Now, it is
drugged
out. He is drugged.
He's drugged.
That's not uncommon. That's not shocking. But there's kind of a couple of times in this, the flashbacks really kind of pull out of it, going back and forth, especially when he's fighting Itsy Bitsy. We don't know what's really real, what is really what the Peter did. And the fact is, he says himself at one point, wait, that's not how that happened, or so forth. Though I do love the final panel when we find out all the narration he was thinking in his head, finds out he was actually speaking it out loud, and Roderick found him and pumped him up.
Oh yeah, that was
fantastic.
Fun.
And when Roderick even says like some side effects may occur, that is so the Hobgoblin.
Oh yeah, I love it. Smart ass.
Because that was always the thing. Norman Osborn was, JR, you can correct me, you're the Green Goblin guy. Norman Osborn was this, when he put on the Green Goblin mask, that was his, evil, his true insanity, pretty much dark side. Roderick Kingsley, when he took his mask off, he had to be this very well-known businessman. Yes, he was a capitalist. Yes, he had his air. Yes, he was part of these clubs. But when he put on the Hobgoblin mask, he was flipping like, yeah, now I'll get them all. They'll all pay.
Oh, okay, we have the Green Goblin on the right. We have the Hobgoblin on the left. Christina and I are just victims. Okay.
I was about to say, I was thinking it was more like a Cesar Romero impersonation there.
Be sure to cover up that mustache, Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a little shade here, but yeah, that does hurt it. There's kind of a little bit of inconsistencies with these security teams. The flashbacks really do hurt this issue. It really, that's why I gave it a C+. Otherwise, I probably would have been like Christina and gave it about a B-.
Let's get into it about these flashbacks. The line where if you hate it so much here, Ben, wait, you're free to leave. We know practically nothing about the early teenage years of Peter Parker. And by raising a teenager, myself and also being a teenager, if we're to believe this is the everyman character, this is on track for a teenager. JR, you're shaking your head already. The fights with your parents, and if you are adopted, if you are taken in where your mother and father have left you due to them dying, you have that built up in you. There are fights that you're going to have with your parents that you regret, and you probably are a little bit ashamed of yourself for doing. And if Peter Parker is the everyman hero, he has to have had some of those with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. He couldn't have been an angel. Granted, we've seen a lot of the angel stories of Peter Parker. We haven't seen when he's a jerk. And every kid has their moments of being a jerk to their parents. This may have been a week in the life of Peter Parker, where he hung out with this guy, and it caused him to have some turmoil with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. But I think this is on track for an everyman hero that this happens. JR, rebuttal, you don't think this is Peter Parker, huh?
Well,
granted, it's a little hard to read because he's my hero, and it's sad to see my hero have flaws like that, but he must.
Well, if we're going to go to cons already, I'll go ahead and When I opened this issue up, it took me, I forget how long I've had it. It took me a week or actually 2 weeks to actually read it, because opening up the first page and seeing Peter reenact, I was a teenage asshat. It was painful. I mean, it was just painful to see, because I don't think that's Peter Parker. And I don't think Peter was ever that way. Now, there's a good, it's funny because there's a good what if story where Peter does start to cross swords a little bit with Ben. But first of all, yes, I was a teenager, but I never defied I would not never in my father's house. I got away more with my mother. Well, and you got smacked in the face once when I would never. I wouldn't. No. I mean, my father would never have tolerated any of this. I would have been too afraid to do this with my father. My father was very traditional and very. I'll tell you one thing. One time I did openly defy him. My brother and I had a contentious relationship. We were only 2 years apart, and I had this hard rubber ball my brother just irritated the hell out of me, and Dad saw he was reading my mind. He knew I was going to pelt my brother with his ball. And he told me, do not throw that ball at your brother.
Well, I know you did.
Dad and my brother started walking away, and I just picked that thing and reared and nailed him. You never saw a 40-something-year-old man move so fast. And it was like, it was literally, this is me. I mean, it
was like a Kermit the Frog.
It was. He just kicked the hell out of me. It's like, the idea. I'm not exaggerating. I've told this story to my wife, and my mother and I talk about it a lot. Because it was just, that was the only time I defied him. The only time.
What's different about Peter Parker? He is defying Aunt May and Uncle Ben here.
Yeah, but
you said you did it. Why can't Peter do it?
I did. I didn't talk like this. I didn't talk like this to my parents. Some of my misspent youth was a little bit later in college, but it was not directed toward my parents. I just don't see Peter treating two old people like this. I really don't. I don't see him treating Ben and May like this. So this was just.
You mean because he's responsible? He hasn't learned that lesson yet, JR.
Yeah,
he hasn't learned responsibility yet.
It has nothing to do with the responsibility, though.
Responsible to be courteous to your elders and the people who took you in when you could have been in a foster home.
You must have been one annoying little son of a bitch when you were a teenager. I swear.
I am now.
If you think this is normal behavior for a kid,
I know teenagers, and I know that they act up.
I raised two of them myself.
Yeah,
the choir over here on the teenagers. Yeah.
Yes.
I raised two of them myself, and they're both out of their teenage years. They had their moments, but
exactly, this is Peter's moment of being a jerk. And we've not seen this, and I know that this character has done some jerk things, in my opinion.
Well, we're just going to have to.
No, you're going to agree with me, damn it!
Oh yeah.
Come on, JR, bring it. No, I'm just kidding. Ryan and Christina, let's defer to you guys.
Sheldon Cooper look at this withering disdain.
Ryan, is this out of character for Peter Parker? We haven't seen it, but I tend to believe it.
True story. When I was 14 years old, my mother and I.
It's like we're in therapy suddenly, y'all. When I was 14,
I had the McDonald's Jungle Gym.
Oh my God.
But yeah, there was a talk where I got on the refrigerator one time. I could still feel because we had a low thing, and I was actually sneaking out cereal. and I was eating Lucky Charms, and my stepfather had gotten up to check something he had forgotten to turn up, and I took the cereal and I threw it at his head, and he was like, "What? What was that?" In the middle of the dark, I kept throwing Lucky Charms at his head, and I was laughing in the background. He's like, "Boy, you get down there right now from that refrigerator." That was it. And my mom goes, well, "I can't believe you did that. I mean, you're up there, you're throwing things at your stepfather. I mean, what were you thinking?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, Mom. Maybe I could do the thing with her." And, I got into that with that. And then I ended up eating like a whole handful of Lucky Charms, some more with that too. So, I've done things myself I'm not proud of. And my own father, I know one time I was visiting my younger siblings, they got in a huge fight and I kind of came into it. And I got in an argument with my little sister. She was 10, I was 24. And we were arguing about who was cheating at a video game. And my dad came in, looked at the two of them, looks at this 24-year-old right out of college son, his soon-to-be middle school daughter, and just did this. And he walked out the door. He just was like, what the hell am I raising here? And
wait a minute, did he come back?
Oh, he came back.
Okay, good.
He came back.
I thought he went for some smokes and he didn't come back.
Yeah. System and told Leslie and I to, do something else is basically what he did too.
So is it out of character, Ryan?
To defy the parents and stuff? No.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Christina, is it on character or out of character for Peter Parker?
Do we know how old he is in these flashbacks?
I'd say 13 or 14, honestly.
Yeah, somewhere in...
I'd say like a year or two before the spider bite, because that's 15, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
He seems just barely a teenager in this, in my opinion, middle school.
Then for B, true, we haven't seen him much younger, but
No, we haven't.
I was leaning more towards JR, but when you think about it, yeah, this is typical teenage behavior. So I'm leaning more towards Ryan and you. So yeah.
JR, what do you think Peter was just an angel? I mean, is this too far? What's I'm confused.
Well, that's nothing new.
Jerk. Amazing jerk. Spectacular jerk. Web of jerk.
Ryan's little when he was describing, he reminded the voices he was making reminded me of the time that my daughter was she wasn't a teenager, she was only about 5 or 6 or whatever, but for whatever reason, one of the things girls do when they rebel is they cut their own hair sometimes. And so my wife got so mad at her, and she made her call me and tell me what she did, which and I'm just laughing my ass off. What did you do, Rachel? I cut my hair. All right, Rachel,
how old was she?
She's probably 6. And I said, all right, why did you do that? I don't know. That's when you were doing the voices, Ryan. That story popped in my head. No, I don't think he was an angel, but I just always saw him being a little nerdy, scared dweeb. I just don't see him having the balls to defy. I mean, like I said, I never defied my father. Other than the one time, and you saw what happened. But
turning the curve.
Again,
Uncle Ben and Aunt May aren't his mother and father. For intents and purposes, they are. But they're to a teenager, they don't understand why is my aunt and uncle raising me? He's got that baggage on him.
Raised him because his parents are dead.
I know, but when you get to teenage, you start rebelling and you start questioning, why the hell am I in this spot? And I can see a young Peter Parker going, why did I get this bad luck? It's not Parker luck, but you know what I'm saying. Why did I get the lot of why the aunt and the uncle have to raise me? I think that's a human thing as a kid to question. Maybe I'm just overthinking characters. But it's painful to watch your hero, which is Peter Parker, be a jerk. And I if he's an everyman, he had to have been a jerk at some point. JR, you've been a jerk in the last 10 minutes, so I can understand when people are jerks.
Well, like I said, I was a late bloomer. So
Yeah, nobody watered your flower.
Oh.
All right. Let's see. Any other cons we have? Well, actually, that was the only con we have. Out of Ryan was the flashbacks. Ryan, you got anything else on those?
The only thing, like I said, and I talked about the two different SEAL teams coming out of both areas and everything else too. The one thing is, and and I didn't really mention this in my own review a little bit with Itsy Bitsy is, she's very messed up character. I think Norman perfectly explains, like, when you tell me this story about it, that just seems like, wow, that's so out there. Even I don't know what that I made clones of you and threw your girlfriend off a bridge, and here you got somebody who was made from somebody who was just mad he got sent to hell and decides this DNA. Itsy Bitsy at times gets a little point, but she's got the old classic plot owner, like, I could kill you now, but I don't want to. But I kind of want to kiss you, but I don't want to. Let me just throw you off here, and I'm just going to go off and do a little things like that. It kind of, her characterization is sometimes a little off, and I get it. She's a messed up person. I mean, she was this homeless drug addict that was basically picked up, given all this DNA, was technically fried to just being a finger that regrew into a whole body to be where she is, and she's kind of upgraded her powers and everything else. I mean, she's messed up, but it gets a little bit to the point to where she's making up an excuse why she couldn't just kill Spider-Man right now and then just move on with her life. I mean, it's
maybe it's because I've read comic books a lot. Writers tend to like to use the stuff they've created. And this is a classic example of Joe Kelly goes, you know what? Over a couple years ago, I'm not going to have to reinvent the wheel. I got a perfectly nice little character that nobody's touched since I had her, and I'm going to throw her in here. And I don't mind her. Spider-Man doesn't have that much of a female rogues gallery. I wouldn't even consider Black Cat a rogue. I'd call her an alien.
No, really, outside Commanda and Scorpia, Itsy Bitsy. I mean, that's kind
of. Don't
of
forget Princess Python, his first female.
Python, that's very true, and I've always liked Princess Python too. But really, I always said myself that there needed to be more, female villains. And in the '90s, they really did try to get him more rogues gallery with Joystick and Cold Heart and a few other things too. And none of them really stuck.
They haven't.
I mean, Itsy Bitsy is very kind of an original character, and I do love the design of her, and I think her motivation is actually pretty kind of an interesting motivation for a villain, how she is too. So
Tevye wants to know if she's connected to Mephisto. Refresh me, Ryan, because you remember it better than I do. What's her connection to Mephisto?
So Weezo, or Patient Zero, wanted kind of revenge against Deadpool, and he made some demonic deal himself that he could, get revenge on Deadpool and Spider-Man. Mephisto was kind of messing with Spider-Man a little bit more too. So basically, Weezo, did this, grabbed this woman off the area, took the DNA from battles that he got from both Deadpool and Spider-Man during their series, and basically injected her because she was really just like, she was a hunched over junkie that just wanted stuff, and he basically injected her with this drug that turned her into this mutated spider of the two DNAs. But she hates Spider-Man more because she said, I see your life as mine. Why the hell did you have such a good life and I'm sitting in a gutter, is basically her motivation.
And Kelly was the first person that really, before Nick Spencer, played with the Mephisto a little bit.
He was. And some people were wondering if there was going to be a deal with that too. And Kelly kind of decided to put this all together into Itsy Bitsy.
Interesting. Christina, any other cons out of you?
Well, because I never read the series where Itsy Bitsy came in. Right now, I just don't care about her at all. So
I get it. It's not a bad read. It's from Marvel Unlimited if you've got that subscription. I didn't mind it because Joe Kelly's voice on Deadpool is very good, and I don't think unless he's writing the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, his voice of Spider-Man is not awful. So it's not a bad little book if you want to check it out. JR, cons that we haven't mentioned.
No more cons.
No, okay. Let's go to the chat and see what they have to say before we go to the next issue. Adam says JMS did the flashback to Uncle Ben stuff better in his Skin Deep arc. Is that the one with the Molten Man 2? Electric Boogaloo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Christina is not the Goblin Queen. Just to put that out there. Spoiler alert, Christina. I don't know what he was referencing on that. Adam says, I get what Brad's saying, and let's not forget, Peter was a jerk ass at times under Ditko. Okay. I am with JR in this. He's right, says Tevye. Mr. Comics says, JR, when you were a teenager, you had dinosaurs in the backyard. Gary says, I always like it and appreciate when JR lets out little tidbits of his life when explaining Spider-Man stories and history. Yes, it makes him relatable to the masses, and that's why they love him. I do like what Brad is saying about Peter. Thank you, finally someone. Honestly, I don't see Peter Parker treating Aunt May and Uncle Ben like this at all, especially with alcohol, with this random friend who had no idea who this character is, says Tevia. Out of character for an adult Peter. Teenager is perfectly on spot, says Mr. Comics. I like when Brad gives his opinions too. Sometimes he focuses on the panel, which is good as the host, but always appreciate your opinions on Spidey as well. Thank you, Gary. No, Brad, I'm with JR in the stop making excuses for this bad characterization, says Venkman. Okay, I'm not making excuses. I am doing my thoughts on this characterization, okay? Not his opinions just as right as mine. JR says, you're talking about toy plastic dinosaurs. Oh, JR is in the chat too.
It won't let me connect to the chat now.
I think Tim says, it depends on what generation Peter is, a teenager. He's been in his 20s since the late 70s.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Is this story based in 1959 and 60?
Well, I mean, he has the 1984 pack, so I don't know.
So around this time, he should have been getting a symbiote, is what you're saying. He just got out of Secret Wars in 84, but instead he got the jacket. But yeah, I do think, I get your point, Tim. A 1950s, 60s kid is a little bit more fearful of his dad and his mother as opposed to an 80s and 90s kid. JR, would you agree? I think
that I will agree on.
Yeah.
I think the prior generation. I think my father and mother were better parents than I've been. So,
JR. Venkman, you're making excuses, Brad. That's what you're doing. Venkman, chill. This is the Crawlspace counseling episode, evidently. It's just freaking comics. Okay?
You're Lucky Charms at my stepfather from
there are opinions and there are thoughts. And no one's right, no one's wrong. We're just voicing our opinion. We're allowed to do it. It's a fine. Jeff says, I don't mind a 13-year-old Peter being a little jerk, but not in the way Kelly's doing it. Okay, fair, Jeff. That's fair. It's hard for me to look at my hero being this much of a jerk, but I get it. I can understand it. I think this rings a little true, even if it's hard to see. Tevia says, I made some mistakes growing up. I'll admit that seeing Peter Parker as a teenager treating Aunt May and Uncle Ben like this just feels wrong to me, in my opinion. Well, that's what the writer's trying to make you feel, I think. It's wrong for Peter to do this to Aunt May, who's taken in this little kid. They deserve more respect. He should be more responsible and thank them for taking him in. But he's a teenager. He's got hormones going in and out. That sounds awkward. Adam says, it feels wrong, but I think the point of what Kelly, but I think that's the point of why Kelly is doing it. Yeah, where's the timetable with Peter Parker being a little kid to a teenage adult? Because this timetable makes no sense to my opinion. Well, I suspect if Peter is in his 20s, this is the 1990s. Would you guys not agree? I mean, this is 2025. So you subtract 25 years, maybe 1995. This is when this story took place.
No, wait a minute. If Peter's 25 now in 2025, we're talking about like the 2010s for this taking.
Oh, you're right. You're 2010s. Yeah, you're right. I went back too far. That would put him in the 30s. My bad. I love that Brad thinks I'm J. Jonah Jameson, apparently. Yes, get me opinions on Spider-Man. Oh yeah, Adam, 95 is when the Clone Saga happened. My God. By the way, it's the 30th anniversary of the Clone Saga, so happy anniversary to those who celebrate. All right. So, JR, let me get the book up. Hold on. I've been stuck in chat. I've been defending myself, making Venkman sound like J. Jonah Jameson. Let's see. Venkman, who should I impersonate if I was to impersonate a celebrity as your voice? Feel free to tell me in chat. Okay, we have issue number 968. And JR is going to tackle this one. And if I can share my screen, that'd be a great thing.
Okay.
Share screen. And go. There you go.
All right. Okay. I will say I want to throw another positive on Pepe's look at the Hobgoblin. He makes the Hobgoblin look like much more of a really scary Halloween character. And I because I kind of actually like the Green Goblin being cartoony. You know, I mean, because I think that to me that says a lot about what Norman, why he wears that costume. You know, it's absurd and ridiculous and silly, but I like the more horror, you know, truly frightening looking Hobgoblin, the red eyes and stuff. So anyway,
absolutely.
So
good looking
anyway.
cover.
So anyway, now the story starts at Rand Applied Sciences. Now, is this Danny Rand's? I don't know. We talked about this last
time.
Yeah.
He's evidently dead.
Oh, well, of course, because he has to be replaced by an Asian. So, you know, anyway. But so anyway,
JR, behave.
Well, I mean, come on, Iron Fist.
No, behave. Go on. Keep going.
Iron
Keep
Fist,
going.
It was Lost Horizon. All these people complaining about him not being Asian. No, it was Lost Horizon. Okay, you dumbasses. Anyway, you know,
he's not behaving.
Inland was Shangri-La. You know.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. So we start out with this woman who has the weird ass name because it's probably got a point to it, but which we haven't got to yet. Anyway, so she's telling Brian, you know, that they have to fire Peter for the same reasons that Tricorp fired him back in the you know, about 30 years ago, you know, because he doesn't show up and things of that nature. And you know, Brian, you know, of course, you know, he's studying the been studying the Coke, the soda and everything. I can't say Coke because Coke will send us a letter if we call soda Coke. But and then he realizes that, hey, good news. Peter really was on drugs. So,
just say no, kids.
Yeah. He really was on drugs. Okay. So, you know, anyway, so back to the warehouse where Spider-Man and the Hobgoblin are getting into it. All right. Although he's on the glider, he doesn't have the wings now. So anyway, they're kind of fighting.
I want to play.
Stop this.
Anyway, Christina is sitting there saying that, you know,
I literally just had that within hands reach.
He's in a group of 5-year-old boys. You know, that's why they say, what is it? Men never change. It's just that the toys get bigger and more expensive.
Wait a minute. What was Ryan holding up? Did you have a Funko too? What were you holding up? What the hell is that? Is that Kirby?
It's Kirby. I mean,
it's not even Jack Kirby. It's not even Jack Kirby. What the hell? Oh, hell, JR. You get more toys?
Oh, yeah. See, you know.
Oh, what's this?
This actually was from Tuesday morning. It was like on $5. You know, and actually, it's one of those that's got a battery and wheels, and you can make him go on the floor or whatever. But I haven't tried that yet. So
very cool, cool. I like it.
Anyway, so we go back to the warehouse where Spidey and the Hobgoblin are throwing down, and Spider-Man wants to know what's the whole point of, you know, doping up soda pop? I mean, what's the point there? It's already full of all kinds of crap that are going to kill people anyway. So why do you got to add something more to it? And the Hobgoblin says, well, you know, this will be, you know, yeah.
Pardon me while I hold up my Baja.
I'll just, you know, and Hobgoblin goes, well, I'll just do a Howard Mackie here, and I'll just, you know, not really deal with the issue or resolve it. So anyway, you'll have to wait.
Let me pull a Howard Mackie. Oh my gosh.
So anyway. But then Itsy Bitsy shows. Let's see here. Oh, okay, yeah. We start. Spider-Man is still struggling with the effects of the drug, and we're about to go on another magical misery tour through Spider-Man's regrets and losses.
Regrets. He's had a few.
I'd say, and again, this is going to be a con. This is going to be a big con. I mean, I'm just, we've been over this ground before, but anyway, so anyway, Itsy Bitsy comes back, and she says, "Hey, boss, our snitch at the Fed." Or the Federal Reserve, not the Federal Reserve, the snitch with the feds, says that the government, or they're on to us about the soda pop. A couple of scientists from Rand Corp just ratted us out. And you better go take care of that. And yeah, the hobgoblin says, yeah, because I can fly, I'll get there quicker than you. And oh, by the way, you failed to kill Spider-Man twice. If you fail to kill him again, this time you're going to be deader than Joel on The Last of Us. So,
spoilers.
yeah, yeah. Anyway. So, of course, that gets, Spider-Man worrying about his new buddy, Brian, who we never saw in the previous 60 years. But then again, like I think I said before, we didn't see C.J. Vogel either during the early years, and he showed up prominently in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 17 and never appeared again. So Brian will have his day, I suppose, and never appear again. But anyway, we start going through, this triggers some, and this is part of the impact of the soda. The drug soda is it makes Peter see his memories in black and white.
Look at these floating heads of guilt.
We'll get to the floating heads, but and it's like, first of all, Shay has not earned a place as a floating head. I'm sorry. Stop trying to make her happen. She does not belong as a floating head. She hasn't earned it yet. Have there been any moments between Peter and Shay that are even, Peter doesn't show up for a date. She gets pissed off. Then she forgives him. Then they go on their date. Has there been any kind of connection between the two of them?
How many months have they been dating, in your opinion, in Marvel time? Like 2 months? Is this a 2-month relationship?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
She died, and they used the reeds to bring her back to life. So I guess.
Oh yeah, in those 2 months, the chick died.
Oh yeah.
Everything, you never are there, Peter. I died. Oh, I'm back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, there's never been this.
Putting it right next to Uncle Ben.
I just want to see what Brian's new toy is. Didn't you have a toy?
What we got?
Scooby-Doo.
Oh, Scoob.
That looks like Scrappy Doo.
It's a mini.
Oh, how insulting!
Puppy power.
Oh God, please don't ever do that again.
Let me at him.
Ruh-roh, Shaggy.
All right, but Shay next to Uncle Ben, I'll give you. That's not her place.
A big floating head of guilt.
I know it.
Eclipsing him.
So anyway, but then Spidey goes through these hallucinations, and it's like who's telling Joe Kelly to try to keep making Chasm happen? It's like, stop trying to make Chasm happen. First of all, this is not the Ben Reilly that Peter bonded with all those years ago during the Clone Saga. Okay. This is not the guy that he really truly felt like it was his brother, and the Ben that was killed by Norman Osborn. This is not that Ben. This is some asshat who blames Peter for
Ben
not
27
having memories because these assholes that what was it, the Beyond Corporation?
Yeah.
After with his head, he blames Peter. Because you didn't let them suck your brain dry and give your memories to me. That's on the Eddie Brock, Hall of Fame of dumb motivations. But anyway,
what do you think of Harry over here with maggots and worms coming out of him? That's
well, for a while there he was kindred.
So, yeah. I mean that tracks. But that's a cool.
Yeah, but and then I don't even want to get into Captain Stacy. So anyway. Literally or metaphorically. But I will say though, and then they bring up they have to bring up the thing with the girls about losing the love of his life. But okay. I will say this is
look
one
at that.
Of my pros. I liked this.
Me too.
Me
too.
I like it when women are drawn attractively. Neither one of them has half a shaved head or a mohawk. So
they're in their 60s appearance. That's why you like them, JR.
Well,
that's her first appearance, and that's her death suit. That's why you like them. That's the default versions of these
But
two characters.
but it's also a nice rendition, kind of like
it is.
You know, it reminds me of what was it? Was it J. Scott Campbell who did Spider-Man Blue or whatever?
No, Tim Sale.
Tim Sale. Okay, yeah. No, yeah, just right. Okay. But I like Tim Sale's, I like the way he did the girls too. So anyway, I just like this rendition of the girls.
This panel right here, I specifically like because you lost both of the loves of your life twice.
Yeah.
I just love that. I love that.
Yeah. So, one's dead and one is with our new hero, Paul. So
one's being Marvel editorialized. Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought, but anyway, so the fight with Itsy Bitsy triggers more memories, and now we trigger the memory of Peter hanging out with his new buddy Brian, and his new buddy Brian gets him to drink, although we do see Brian complain about his parents, so apparently he has parental issues. But anyway, Peter is he's tasting the nectar of the gods there for the first time.
It's not Mountain Dew.
Alcohol, however, there is, as all first-time drinkers know, there is a price to be paid.
At the throne.
As we see,
at the throne.
That is kneeling at the throne, praying to the porcelain god. And I didn't do it when I was a teenager. Like I said, my going astray was in college. And they're definitely. I was in the Church of the Porcelain God more than the real church at that time. So
hallelujah.
And I will say, I will say this is again, I did complain about, and I don't think Peter would, but at least I don't think Peter would have behaved the way he did. But here there are consequences, and he's facing them, and he's dealing with them, and he's paying. So it's not like he acted like a jerk and he got away with it. No, this is his comeuppance. May is, I think May is very much, May is very much like a mother. I think acting like a mother would. She forgives him. Ben is, and I like this. I like this because Ben is outside because Ben would kill him.
Absolutely.
Dad will kill you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dad will kill you. Mom is said, and this is where Mom has said, "I'll handle it." And actually, I won't tell any stories of Spencer's misspent youth because those are his stories to tell. But there were moments where JR, "I'll handle this. Stay out." This is what a mother would do. So I think it's
the dialogue. The dialogue here is great too. I love this dialogue. What do you think, JR?
I think May has something very, it's funny though, because May, again, would Peter treat these people, well, the way they were drawn in the Ditko years and the early Romita years, no, Peter wouldn't have, because you saw how frail Aunt May looked.
Yes.
If Peter talked to that Aunt May like he's talking to this Aunt May, I think even Brad would agree that.
Oh, I agree. Even a young teenager wouldn't yell at a 90-year-old woman. There's
yeah.
But she looks 60 here, maybe.
Yeah, she's a little bit more.
50,
she's
60,
a little bit more modern here. But she has, I think, something very wise to say at the very end about the penalty for keeping people away and the price that you'll pay. So I did like that. So,
but look at that. There. Until you're gone too, like that rings to me. That rings true. That rings true because he thinks they're going to leave him too, like his parents did.
Well, it's a good thing J.M.D. Mateus wasn't writing this, because this would have been what half the story was about. About Peter's abandonment issues. So, all righty, let's see here. Unfortunately, I wrote my notes in pencil. Oh yeah, and Vermin would be in it as well if J.M.D. Mateus.
He'd be coming out of the toilet like, "Hello, Peter."
That's tough. Yeah. The Vermin would come out of the toilet like he did the grave.
Actually, that would be the turd goblin. But
he throws poop instead of pumpkins.
That's right. That's
the
right.
turd goblin.
That's
Frap.
somebody with some talent draw the turd goblin, okay?
The turd
All
goblin versus flatulence man. Come on now, it writes itself.
Yeah. We're going bawoosh instead of
Bawoosh.
Anyway, so we're getting back to Peter tells Aunt May he loves her, but he's not talking to Aunt May. He thinks he is, but he's actually talking to Itsy Bitsy, which triggers Itsy Bitsy because, as all bad writing does, female supervillains can only have two motivations: they were sexually assaulted or they have daddy issues. Itsy Bitsy's is daddy issues. Although I will confess, I did not, Brian gave us some, about her background, which I did not know because I didn't read Spider-Man and Deadpool. But, but this is kind of true. It's like, they can't just be evil or bad or whatever. No, it's like they were either sexually assaulted or they had daddy issues. And thanks to Kevin Smith, Felicia had both. So anyway, this triggers Itsy Bitsy. And Itsy Bitsy being triggered then triggers Spider-Man to clear his head and get him out of his stupor. And he takes down Itsy pretty quickly, like he should.
Yeah.
Anyway, this the story ends with the Hobgoblin racing to Ray and Applied Sciences. So,
one more time, right at the camera.
Oh, actually, I have a goblin without a glider. So here's the flying goblin.
Voiced by Mark Hamill.
Hey, voiced by Mark Hamill. Very good. Okay, now do flatulence man. I'm just kidding. do the poo goblin.
Let me, if you want that, let me go up and take a couple swigs of Metamucil, and I'll have that ready for you.
Oh my gosh!
But anyway.
Oh, sorry, by the way, go ahead, JR. Sorry.
So the Hobgoblin is flying to Rand, and we hear Brian say, "Hey, everything's cool. I got an antidote. Everything's just gonna be great." To be continued.
Okay. So, by the way, we have Matt Roberts in the letter page right here, who we were just talking about. So that is Mr. Comics. So congrats for being in another letter page, everybody. So, all right. I didn't even notice Javi is indeed in there. Javi, look at that. I didn't know he was in there. So yeah, 2 crawl spacers right there. Very nice. Okay, JR, grade, please.
I was about to say, Brad, you just got tentacles everywhere, don't you? I mean, Crawlspace members are writing in the letters page. Crawlspace members are,
when you've been on the web for 25 years, it happens.
The Roger Corman of podcasters and stuff. So anyway,
I guess so, man.
Grade,
sir.
Grade? I'll give this one a C+. I liked it a little better than last issue, but I still have to knock it down a notch because I don't like asshat Peter.
Okay. Ryan, grade?
B.
Okay. Christina?
I'm going to give this the same grade as the last issue, B-.
B. I'm going to give this an A- for me. I liked it a lot. JR, what's your pros?
Some of the art, like I said, the Gwen and Mary Jane was just, that's almost poster worthy.
It's beautiful.
And, I kind of like, I like Peter's come up and scene. I think that rings
absolutely
true. That rings true. And May's, and just the way May and Ben are handled in this issue. I mean, Ben is obviously very concerned and worried, but, he's keeping his distance because he knows he and May knows that he would lose his top, and that's not what Peter needs now.
Yep.
So I like the characterization of May and Ben in this story as well. So
it's my biggest pro.
Mm-hmm.
I love Aunt May's speech here. I don't think that we have done anything to deserve that, except maybe not be your biological parents. I just think that's so sweet, and to say we're going to love you whether or not you let us. We're going to love you come what may. Which I thought that was nice. But then a scared little Peter Parker until you're gone too. I mean, for loving these characters for 40 plus years. This just is a sweet moment between three characters, count Uncle Ben, and I just thought it was great. That's what I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. So, and other pros, JR?
No, I think those are primarily it. Again, I like the last panel of the Hobgoblin flying, where he almost looks like a. Go back and show that. Can you find that panel again?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what he looks like here. I mean, he really looks.
He looks dead.
He really looks. He has a distinctive look. He doesn't look like a Green Goblin ripoff. He has a very distinctive look, and I'm just trying to think about what it reminds me of. I don't know. It's but I can't think of it. So
I wish they would have given him some red eyes or something. He looks kind of weird and dead there.
Yeah, it could have probably used a little. That would have probably made it scarier to have a little color.
Yeah,
eyes. You're right. So
yeah, but also chat. Let me hear your grades, and we'll read them after we're done with the round of pros. Ryan, what's pro out of you, sir?
Well, I'm pretty much agreement on the other parts. I actually love the banter that's going on between Kingsley and Peter at the beginning of the issue, especially when Kingsley's talking about his little henchmen. It's like, hey, these guys can only shoot as good as a cross-eyed stormtrooper, but hey, what are you going to buy at this too? Mm-hmm. But I think, and this is where I said this in my own review with both issues here. I like that Kelly has really set up an interesting mystery of what is Kingsley really planning. And the fact that Peter goes into him explaining, like, I don't get this part. And why would you do this? He even said in issue 3, well, now I got a plot. I got an area. But what is the why? And Kingsley's like, well, I'm not going to give you that away. And honestly, I have a bigger plan. And you're right now screwing this all up. And I really need this plan. Even though he talks about I should have gotten pharmaceuticals years ago, which is another nod to it. Because believe it or not, Kingsley was looking into pharmaceuticals back during Goblins at the Gate, too, of him getting back into his business. So I really like that. But my biggest thing was I like how Peter defeats Itsy Bitsy. She gets so thrown off from the hug. And like you said, JR, I gave you a little bit more about, like I said, daddy issues or whatever, but it throws her so far off that Peter, while he's still trying to clear his head, uses it to his advantage. We haven't seen this kind of a Spider-Man in a long time. This is not like, oh no, come save me, Norman. Please save me, Miss Marvel, whatever. He actually outwits her at this moment, and he himself is not working. And I actually like it when he actually throws her dialogue and says, I'm going to take you out like a boss. I mean, this is where the dialogue from Kelly actually works really good. And when she's just stuck in the wall saying, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. He's like, yeah, I'll get back to you on that,
Ryan, did you take your meds today?
Maybe a little later in the day, but yes, I took my meds.
If JR would have read this dialogue, he would have included the actual words, not the bleeps that they did. Yeah, I agree. That if this was Dan Slott, he would have the Avengers have to have some help to take out Itsy Bitsy, and we'd have to make it a 5-part miniseries just for this fight. I agree. It's nice to see Spider-Man being by himself and being hence the name.
The artwork really does really good in those fight scenes, the flashbacks. It flows really good. I think this was actually Pepe's strongest issue. Honestly, it was really good.
Yeah. Christina, what'd you like? Pros?
Agree on the art and the fight sequences. I think they're great. And then, you mentioned about the Stormtrooper joke. I caught that too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very cool. Anything else you liked?
No, I think I'm good.
Did you like the flashbacks? That's a no.
Well, I'm thinking about it because at first I wasn't crazy about it, but then
that May scene in the bathroom. I mean, that got me.
Yeah,
that gets me. All right, JR, your con, sir.
Well, we already besides Peter's rebellion, the floating heads of guilt. And including Shay in the floating heads of guilt, because the story didn't need it really. I mean, I don't know unless they're trying to show us how Peter and Brian became, or maybe why Brian's trying to, do Peter a solid here. Maybe Brian felt he, started him on the wrong path or something. I don't know, but it just no, we've been down through the floating heads of guilt before, and again, and Shay has not earned her place there. So I don't think this story needed that. I think it just convoluted it and made it drag.
Ryan, cons?
I'm actually, it's a little bit more, I'm going to get a thing, but I'm going to agree with JR. But another thing, like you said, why is Shay there? If it would have been Lance Bannon, if it would have been Marla Jameson, I could have seen those same dialogue. Also, when he says, no, don't look at me, Captain Stacy, I thought that was Aunt May for a second. I mean, the way that was thought, I really did thought it was Aunt May, not
I thought that was Aunt May too, and
it threw me off.
Let me pull it up. Oh,
yeah,
did I lose it?
I mean, chat, you can agree or disagree with
there
me.
It is.
I
thought that was Aunt May too.
I really thought that was Aunt May. It's like, I tried Captain Stacy. I try so hard, and like I said,
if it didn't say Captain Stacy, I would have had no idea.
Yeah, I don't think. Another thing too is actually back at Rand Corp when we meet Dr. the boss and everything. She's like, "Well, that Peter, he's doing out and everything else. Well, dude, that's okay. He's on drugs. Are you high on your own mushrooms you're eating in front of me there, Brian?" That kind of made me go like, "Wow, this is just." I don't know what to call this. I mean, I get the point. He's trying to give Peter an excuse.
I think you call HR is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's HR. He's eating the mushrooms right at work. I mean, I get this also. Also, New York has a legalization on things like this if they're in a medical facility. But I just don't like. I don't feel this, and I feel she's kind of a cliche. I want a little bit more depth to it. And the way we keep using Brian, another thing, and going back to the flashback, and Christine, I know that when we actually have him confessing to drunk Peter and drunk Brian, Brian basically, "Oh, my parents do this. Oh, I'm so bad. I love you, Peter." I'm like, oh my God, he is such a cliche. I'm sorry, he just is. And then there's about boogers and running a class as a bore, and they're making this song. So who saves the day? The Freakish Four. Woo-hoo!
The Freaktastic Four, it says.
I'm sorry, the Freaktastic Four.
Get your freak on. Yeah.
Joe Kelly actually liked Get Your Freak On too. He had to put that in his Superman issues twice. So yeah.
Nice. Christina, what's some cons out of you? What didn't work for you?
Well, basically what we were saying, talking about the floating heads of guilt. Why the hell is Shay there after so many months of however long they've dated or whatever? And then I thought that was Aunt May too. And then Itsy Bitsy. I'm not vibing with her. That, like I said, I haven't read those comics, so it's just like she's there. I'll deal with it. It's fine.
I just noticed this on this big double page spread. Check out the outline of Itsy Bitsy back here. That's kind of cool. Just real life and flashback. Real life flash. It's just
I really like
it's beautiful.
Pages. Those were that was a nice synergy. That worked really well.
Look at the gut punch right there.
Yeah.
The gut punch, and then he belches. I mean, vomits. I mean, that's just, the art is so good. So good. Cons out of me. Again, I agree with you, Ryan. I don't know much about this character who's running Rand Corporation. I haven't been following Iron Fist. I don't know who she is, why she's here. There has to be a reason, you would think, who this person is. But I don't know. But I don't have much with an A- out of me. I liked it a lot. Let's go to chat and see what they're giving the grades. Let's see. We have an A+, Mr. Comics. I think the plus is because you're in the letters pages is why you're in the A+, my friend.
Cute.
Tevia says, I agree. Brian doesn't feel like Tommy Elliott Hush, which isn't interesting. Okay. Nick Lowe will be on the Crawlspace panel in no time. I don't know about that. B-, definitely better than the last issue. B-, Jeff Cole says. Tevia with that D-, it's not an F. So I'm happy for you, Tevia. Mostly because I'm done with Itsy Bitsy as a character. She's so dumb and tired of this new friend. I want him gone. Same goes with Shay. Also, I don't like seeing Chasm. But do you like Peter Parker? Gary, love the Aunt May scene. Made me start liking these flashbacks. Yeah, Gary. It led to something. It led to that scene. I just love that scene with Aunt May. Also, for God's sake, Marvel, have Peter Parker and Mary Jane finally reunite, finally be married. Stop being stupid. The one pro I will give is Aunt May's speech, and that's about it. There you go. You like something. I love it. Tevia liked that bathroom scene. Let's see. Roy, been with you since 98. Thanks for keeping on, Brad. Good God, Roy. Thanks for keeping on since 98. That's amazing. You're still with the Crawlspace this long, my friend. So thank you for chiming in. Hope to see more of you. C- out of Matt Bird. Let's see. Hobgoblin, says Adam, is the best thing about this arc, in my opinion. The flashbacks in the Hobgoblin, I would agree. Jeff says the fight scenes with the Hobgoblin Itsy Bitsy were great. Let's see. I'm with JR on the floating heads of guilt, says Jeff. So yeah, he agrees about the Shay thing. Adam says Kelly likes drugs in his scripts, apparently. Yeah, Nonstop Spider-Man was all about drugs. This one's a little bit about drugs too, putting drugs in the soda. Let's see. What made it an A- for Brad? Artwork, the Aunt May scene, and I love the line, what's our only crime? Not being your biological parents? That just hits you. And then Peter Parker being really vulnerable and saying, hey, you're just going to leave me too. So, I mean, this is a character I love. And to see him vulnerable like that, it rings true for me like that. I think a 12, 13-year-old boy who's lost his parents is scared that he's going to lose the other parents that stepped up for him. So I think this rings true for a kid an average everyday kid. Let's see. Brad, Christina, and Ryan, did you guys Thinking Critical, who ruins comics the most this morning? I claim Spider-Man has been a villain or a fool since One More Day. What is Thinking Critical? What is that?
He's a YouTuber. I used to watch his stuff, and then I deleted a whole lot of my subscriptions. But I've always thought he had some pretty well thought out analysis. So that's but he is a YouTuber, and he's worth watching. I mean,
okay.
So,
yeah, I've seen him in passing too. I mean, he's got some really good pieces too and everything. I didn't see this morning.
I've not.
I think I just got months ago, maybe.
He just got a heck of a plug. So maybe Matt is Thinking Critical. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, check it out. To see Matt's comment. Okay. Before we do final thoughts, I want to tell you about what's coming next on Patreon. We're going to go to Patreon in just a little bit, and we're going to, let's see. We're going to talk about the following books. We've got the explanation, JR. The explanation, how did that symbiote get on Mary Jane? All New Venom, issue number 6. We're going to tackle that. We're going to see the origin of the MJV, Mary Jane Venom. What do you think of that, JR? Mary Jane having a symbiote, the Venom suit.
Yeah, that's worth the price of admission right there.
Are you reading All New Venom? No, I know the answer to this. Never mind. Poor Christina is going to wrap up issue 14 and 15 of Spectacular Spider-Men. The book comes to an end.
Thank you.
The book comes to an end.
Yes.
So there you go. Also, Ryan, are you reading All New Venom?
Yeah, actually, I have been reading All New Venom.
Here's a request for you. Mike just canceled. That's his book too. Can you take All New Venom 6?
All New Venom 6. I'll have to see if I can pull it, and if I get the old clear in the back here,
Mike
just
said he's actually, JR, you review All New Venom 6 on Patreon.
Oh, that would be delightful. Kidding. I'd be delighted.
My ass. You haven't read it.
That's why it'd be delightful.
I know, right? And then we have
JR kind of just throwing it back and forth and kind of
I know.
We do it for Mike, and then we all kind of like sign off and go to I don't know.
I know. And then we have Kelly. Kelly's going to join us and talk about Ultimate Spider-Man number 16. JR, you reading Ultimate Spider-Man?
I stopped after issue 12.
Aw.
It was boring. It's just boring. Plus, I didn't like I got tired, and I burn stole issue 16, and it's another boring issue where nothing happens. So even though, and the revelation kind of well, I won't spoil it for anybody who doesn't know the identity of Mysterio, but I don't know. It's
and,
too much world building, not enough story, and ass kicking.
Okay.
Mm,
And when I think of ass kicking, I think of J.R. Fettinger. I think.
Yep.
And
I mean,
Kelly is
I-
also.
I-
my ass at this point too. I mean, I pulled out, my mini Scooby Doo. I mean, that gave you enough threads
I
right there
know.
to throw it all off.
And then Kelly is going to review Godzilla versus Spider-Man with symbiotes, fresh off of Secret Wars. JR, big fan of Godzilla?
I one of my guilty pleasure movies is Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, or
Okay.
or originally I think it's originally Godzilla versus Hydra or whatever. But when it got released over
Hail
in America,
Hydra?
and, when it got released over in America in the early '70s, it was Godzilla versus Smog Monster. That's one of my all-time guilty pleasures.
And if that
stupid
team-
ass song at the beginning too. So.
If that team up wasn't enough, come with me if you want to live. No, that's not that. Let's get to the chopper, Spider-Man. Get to the chopper. Spider-Man versus the Predator. There you go. So we're gonna review.
I have to say that was a surprisingly enjoyable issue, just for an early.
I thought Godzilla and Predator were great. We're gonna
Godzilla
break them
was
down.
really interesting too. Jr. Same
we're
here.
gonna break them
Godzilla was
down. Yeah. So if you haven't signed up for Patreon.com, we're gonna get some new friends in here. Neil and Kelly are gonna join. Ryan and Christina and I, and we'll talk about it. So, final thoughts. Let's go around the horn. We have Christina. Final thoughts.
I'm enjoying this run so far. I am really curious to see what Hobgoblin's plan is with the drugs and stuff. So how this fits
Yeah.
into drugging Rhino and whatever his plan is. So
Yeah, it's almost like a new writer. It's like this 8 Deaths of Spider-Man writer and his assistants are totally different people. This doesn't read like what we just read for 8 issues. So I agree. Ryan, final thoughts.
I've actually been surprised with this issue too. I mean, it's had its bronze, but I'm kind of with Christina. I really want to know what this mystery is. This is kind of cool, and I also kind of like the kind of interesting use with the villains too. I mean, I haven't seen this Hobgoblin in a while, and I like it, and I like some more of the pieces up there too. And I know some people are talking about a Hellgate coming up here in the next 2 issues too. I'm actually looking forward to what's going on with these issues. It's been a while since I've actually felt like that. And I've actually, despite some dialogue things, I think Kelly's really gotten the voice really well for Peter and the dialogue and even the bad guys. I've really been enjoying it.
I'm not really feeling Hellgate, but
yeah.
But I like John Romita Jr. So, JR, final thoughts until we see you in June.
I'm not looking forward to Hellgate either. He just looks like a lame ass villain. I'm trying to think of what he looks like. It looks like a riff of something else, but
Ares.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we
looks
go.
like an Ares knockoff, and I love Ares.
Yeah. So not looking forward to that, but we'll wait and we'll see what happens.
All right. Everybody, thanks for watching us. We will be on Patreon in just a couple minutes. Let us, the Crawlspace Avengers, reassemble, and we'll be there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time. Thanks.